This video is about changing a head gasket on a 2002 Dodge Caravan with a 3.3 liter engine. So the reason I'm changing the head gasket is I believe it's blown. I have other videos. There'll be links here that you can click on how I determined it was blown. It's either the blown head gasket or a cracked head, something that's all the antifreeze coolant is going into the exhaust but getting burned up. So I'm not going to go into that. There's a lot I've tried to seal it. I'm not going to go into all this different steps. You can look at the videos if you want. This one's more about what I'm going to do to basically disassemble this engine and determine the problem and fix it. So there's another really good video out there. I've mentioned it a couple times by Daniel Shear, who actually breaks it down very, very well. So I'm not really going to, I'm going to go ahead and tape everything I do, and if I run across something that maybe he didn't include I think is important, I might mention that. Couple things that I will say going into this, if you've never done this before. I've had engines apart many times in my life. There's always ups and downs. There's tough spots you're going to run into. It's never an easy job. This one, there's decent room. I've had less room. It's going to be a struggle, but a couple things. You want to have a good lubricant, and you want to spray a lot of the bolts down ahead of time. Typically, most of the stuff will come loose pretty easily, except for maybe the exhaust manifold bolts. Still, I like to spray stuff down. It can save some time. Another thing you want to do, and it's easier to do nowadays, take pictures. I'm going to use my cell phone just so I can have it with me and have the pictures versus the camera that I'm filming this with. So I'm going to take a lot of pictures of the engine. Stuff routes different ways, and you may think you know how stuff goes, and even along the way, take some pictures right as you do certain things. It's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to have that history to refer back to. Another thing I strongly recommend is get small boxes, small cups, Tupperware containers, whatever it might take, to keep the nuts and bolts in. Right? It's easy when you got your valve cover gaskets, a whole bunch of bolts all the same size. Those are easy. But there's a lot of little tiny bolts. You may take off one bolt of one type. So you want to make sure you label those, even if you got to put a twisty seal around a little label. It's always good to have, because you start putting it back together, you're going to forget stuff, and you're going to, so if you have pictures, you can look and make sure things are right. So that's really, really good to have. Get a good book that, or at least off the internet, that shows the torque settings. I would never tear an engine down and not put things back together using a torque wrench. I actually ordered a new one, so I can do that. So what I'm actually going to do here is tear this engine down. I have to drain the radiator one last time here, and tear this engine down. Take the heads in, and I'm going to have them magnafluxed, where it's a method they use to determine if there's cracks or defects in the heads. I'm going to do that. I'm hoping that the head gasket will show right away where the defect is, but either way I'm going to have the heads magnafluxed. I'm going to have them check for straightness. The valve job I'm going to do myself, and what really entails is lapping the valves, grinding the valves down, and make sure they have a good seal. It's not difficult. I've done it before. I'll probably do a video on that, and then put everything back together, and hopefully I have my problem solved here. But again, I wouldn't recommend doing this if you've never worked on an engine before. Watching this video is certainly not going to help you and give you everything you need to know to tear an engine down. It's not. But it's possible to, if you've had some working knowledge of a vehicle, and you've done some engine work before. There's a lot of good YouTube videos out there. You can tackle this job. It's not rocket science, right? But if you've never worked on an engine, I would take it in. Now, unfortunately, what I'm about to do over the next couple days, you're looking at $1,200–1,400 or even more, upwards of that, or even more of labor to take the engine apart and replace the heads, clean them up, replace them, and then depending on what's wrong with them, there's more cost. And the gasket set, gaskets are about $120, so that's not a big deal. So take your time if you're tackling this. Don't be in a rush. Fortunately, I got a nice garage here. I got a heater. That's where I'm at. I'm going to get started here, and whenever I think it's worth it, I'll turn the camera back on. All right, there you go. So stay tuned. Okay, so I've been at this for about an hour now. Not too bad. Just got the throttle body off. The ignition module, you can see right here one of the bolts broke off. They're pretty rusty. Not sure how they got like that, but I don't know that I'll mess with that too much. That's on the intake. A lot of hoses. It's a good thing I listened to Daniel Shear's video. He mentioned getting a bunch of oil all over when you took off the power steering unit, which sat right here. I'll show you that. So there's actually a hose up here, which has fluid in it, and one also right here. So what I've done is I plugged them both, wired them up. I'm just going to leave what's in there, hook it back up, and hopefully not make a big mess. Probably replace it. There was a hose. I'll show you that in a second. That connected right here. See this little connector here, and went up to a Y split here. Vacuum hose that broke or snapped. I'm going to try to locate that. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I'll figure it out. So it's getting me good access to the exhaust manifold, which I've already had out previous. That should come off. I think the biggest thing is going to be this exhaust manifold here on the front side here of the car. Then there's one, I'm assuming, back there. Not assuming, there is. It's going to be a little more difficult to get to. Probably going to be one of the toughest areas to work, I think. The next thing is take off this upper cowling here, and then you know, start removing the. And I don't think that's going to be too bad. Valve covers should be pretty simple. Everything's right up front. So most of this stuff is off. It looks like, and I'm pretty happy about this. It looks like, and I don't know if you can see it. I mean, the light's not really showing it, but this whole assembly down here, right here, bolts on the main block, and it has the bracket that holds the water pump. You know, the belt, the whole belt assembly, the alternator, all that, and I'm thinking that can stay intact, which is pretty cool. I'm excited about that. That makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and go over and show you. So what I've done here is I've laid out a tarp, been sorting through the parts. Got a box here that's got, you know, most of this, the hoses from the top, all this stuff that's pretty simple. The cowling. This is the ignition module over here, where I mentioned that bolt was broken, a bracket that holds that. Power steering, right here, reservoir, and the throttle body, which obviously is going to need some cleaning. The gasket looks good though, so I don't think I'm going to order one of those, the rubber gasket. I think it's going to be fine. It sticks out enough to put enough pressure on. I'll show you that. I got, you know, a little cup here that got keeping track of some of the bolts. And this is the assembly I was talking about that broke. It went kind of like this down in there. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the assembly. This is the assembly that I was talking about that broke. So basically, this whole thing, it's really stiff, and it just snaps. I mean, it's really. So I don't know, you know, what this is or what it's really for, but it's just some vacuum supply, and I'm pretty sure I can get it from this to this. And that's. I'm just going to look online, see if I can find something that looks just like it. I'll let you know what it is when I figure it out. Really working with 8mm and 10mm so far, pretty much everything. 1/4-inch drive. This is the right here is the cable for the. I mean, these little things slide right out, and I just put that over here, out of the way. Right. So I'm just trying to get stuff out of the way right now, and then I'm going to really start on the guts of the whole thing, taking the cowling off and work my way down, and just getting to the point where you can really start getting down to the nitty gritty is really what it's all about. Trying to be neat. So far I haven't spilled anything, made a big mess, so I will come back in later and show you anything. A lot of these little clips, this broke actually, this clip right here. This actually goes in the back of the ignition module. I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it'll snap on there enough. I mean, I'm not going to replace it. A lot of these, I took pictures of these there's a lot of these plugs. There's, you know, one here, one there. They're kind of going to go right. There's really only one place they can go. It's not. I haven't seen anything yet where I really need to tag it. 2 ports here. You can see these 2 ports right here. You know, one's a different size than the other one. So that's all the stuff that you really need to. It's not really worth tagging. It's pretty simple. There's these go to the throttle body here. These connections, pretty simple. One vacuum line so far. I'm going to be having to take this off. This is tied to the fuel rail. So at some point, once I get this component off, I'll get down to the fuel rail. And as I get down, I'll take a couple more shots. Otherwise, it's just disassembly. That's where we're at. Oh, yeah, this is the throttle body gasket I was talking about. You can see it's in pretty good shape. I mean, it sticks out there plenty to make a good seal, so I'm not going to buy one of those. It was like 14 bucks. Yeah, not a huge savings, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, that's where we're at. I'm going to keep plugging away, and I'll check back in. All right. All right, so just got the I think it's called a cowling. I don't know what it is. That plastic that sits on top. You get the throttle body here, or the fuel rail here that I'm getting ready to take off. Sorry. Just got this one quick connect. I don't know if it's under pressure. A lot of times they are. I don't know if there's a method to deblete it. I don't see it. I know there's supposed to be some O-rings with this. I'm going to wait and see when I get it off. I'll come back. I'll do a quick shot of that. I'll do a quick shot of that when I get it off to see if there's something worth replacing. Each one of these injectors has a connector on it. It all comes to this one assembly here. Should kick in the back, off to the back, and then I should be able to get at next step, the valve covers. I'm going to try to get as much as I can out of the way before I attack that back exhaust. The front exhaust, when I did have it off, came off really easy, so that's not going to be a problem. And then the intake manifold, and then we'll be down to the heads. So hopefully it won't be too long unless I run into some trouble here. I don't anticipate it. Looks like some more 10mm bolts. Pretty much everything 10mm so far, and it's been coming off pretty easy. So that's it. That's where we're at. All right. Okay, so here's something I just learned. Yeah, so this fuel rail sits down in here like that. And I went ahead and took all these connectors off for the injectors, and you don't have to do that. The fuel rail actually, it should be able to sit to the side. It's got a pretty long cable, so I can tuck it up in here and leave it connected. So you don't need to take those connectors off. At least right now you don't. I can't see any way I would be able to get all, because this actual cable here is all connected up here. You can see these little connectors here. So I'm going to leave the assembly together. But one thing to look at, though, these you can see them, these O-rings. These are the O-rings they were talking about. There's one for each one. There's 6 of them. Looks pretty crappy and dirty there. But that's all the dirt down inside on top of the intake manifold. Obviously, I won't have to worry about that. I'm going to get all that cleaned up. But yeah, those O-rings are definitely something I would want to replace. I wouldn't want to reuse those, so I'll be buying 6 of those. And they come in packs of 4. I mean, you got to buy 2 packs, but definitely something you want to have. Pop those off, pop them back on. Okay, that's where we're at. Oh, dripping gas on my light, probably not a good thing. All right, so I'll work my way down here. Valve covers next, and if I run into anything, I'll do a quick taping of it. All right.